Welcome to Owl Basket. I'm Geralf and this is Fayandil. And today we are going to talk about the game which is here in the Owl Basket.
Which we played last year. And
Yes.
Can you guess it?
A surprise that you certainly didn't see in the title of the video. So it's Scott Pilgrim. I need to check the title. Versus the World, the game. That's quite a mouthful.
It's an old game.
Yeah. So
Years and years ago, I
Yeah.
saw a playthrough of it.
yeah. So this released on, was it on the Xbox Game Store? Yeah,
I guess so, yeah.
yeah, a long time ago. And then at some point it got taken down, and now it's back.
In physical form.
Yeah, I still don't actually know the details why it was taken down, and I also don't know the details why they managed to bring it back. But
Yeah, I only remember rumors about Ubisoft having some problems with the IP or the license, but I can't say for sure.
yeah, so
Haven't researched it really.
yeah. So basically, what this is that it's a beat 'em up, but it's also an RPG. So the game makes it pretty obvious that the makers of the game were a fan of the Reverse City Ransom series. And for those who don't know, the Reverse City Ransom, I have some of the games here. So it's called Street Gangs.
You can guess we have another Street Gangs fan here.
Yeah, so it was called Street Gangs in Europe and Reverse City Ransom in US, and in Japan it's the Kunio-kun series basically. I do have some of the games. These ones are actually in Japanese. And so yeah, basically what you do is that in a beat 'em up format you go around, you beat up enemies on the streets, and as the enemies die or disappear, they turn into coins. You pick up those coins and then you go into shops that you find along the way and you buy food. And usually, I guess, well, we made a separate video about all kind of ways that food is utilized in video games. But
Go check that video out.
yeah,
It's out already.
you typically think that food gives you health back, and yeah, indeed it does. But what's different or special about this game and the Reverse the Ransom series is that it doesn't just give you health back, it also gives you stats. And this isn't like a temporary buff. You eat that burger that you bought, and that's permanent +2 strength to your character. So your characters have stats like strength and agility and other stats that affect the character, and those get permanently buffed as you eat food. So it's kind of like an RPG, but you don't level up using experience. You level up by beating up enemies, getting money, and then buying food.
Yeah, and you do level up in this game, but it brings
Yeah.
new moves instead of stat
Yeah,
boosts.
indeed. And there were like, I think 5 or 6 different characters, and you level them all separately. And indeed, at the start of the game, it feels like you're pretty weak, and all the enemies are. They basically just run from behind the screen and immediately attack you and kick you down, and feels kind of bad. But then you start to realize that okay, I just need to use this defense button to basically counter-attack them, and I can. It takes a while to beat the enemies up in the start, but then you do get money, you eat some food, you get some stat ups, and then it becomes easier over time.
Yeah, that's really part of this type of game of feeling very bad at the beginning and then starting to get hang of it, and then feeling quite OP at the end when
Yeah.
you maxed out your characters, and it's a lot of fun by then. So the progression is very rewarding system
Yeah,
to see your progression and get new moves that sometimes are pretty much the thing you really, really wished to have in the beginning, and then you have it and you're very happy about new move you have.
Yeah.
Especially the one where you can hit the enemy that's down. That's very annoying in old-timey games when you hit someone down and then you can do nothing to them.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the same in this game in the beginning. Before you level up your character enough, you will get that punch-down move that hits enemies while they're on the ground.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
So in the start, you need to beat the enemy up, and if they fall down, you need to wait until they get back up, and eventually you get a move that you can just go to them and start kicking them while they're still down. So it's not a very long game. There's actually, I mean, it is about beating the
7 evil exes.
yeah.
One of them is actually twins, so you
Oh,
fight
right.
2 of them at the same time. So there's gonna be 6
Yeah.
battles.
Yeah. The game actually
And
calls them.
and 7th extra battle, which is against Knife's dad, who doesn't really
right.
like you dating her, or that it's complicated.
Yeah. So the game actually calls them ex-boyfriends, I guess, but one of them is the twins.
Scott is the only guy there who says ex-boyfriends, and the female lead, she always corrects him. It's exes, not ex-boyfriends. It's exes.
Yeah.
And even in the movie, there's a point where Scott then asks, "Why you keep correcting me?" And then the X number, whichever
I think it's
she was,
5th or something.
comes in and reveals that it's not all boyfriends.
Yeah.
Here's your tangent of the day.
Yeah. But indeed, so there's about 6 stages in the game. So it's not all that many. But as we mentioned, there's the whole leveling system, so you're probably going to be doing those stages over and over again. And not just the leveling system, but itself, there's a lot of, or quite a few nods to the Reversity Ransom game series. So there's a couple of hidden shops that you can basically only find if you, how would you say it, go pushing against certain walls.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of moves that have the same names as some of the moves in the Reversity Ransom series. The only one I can remember is Grand Slam, but I'm pretty sure there were others. I mean, beat 'em ups usually aren't very long, so in that sense, it shouldn't really be a surprise. Beat 'em up games usually only have like anywhere from 5 to 10 levels altogether.
Yeah, and this one, I guess Reversity Ransom games are usually kind of open worlds where you can travel from place to place, just walking around and taking back streets to other areas. But this is sectioned off like a Mario game, old-timey Mario game.
Yeah. So the map looks kind of like what the map looks like in Super Mario Bros. 3. And in Reversity Ransom games, usually there is no map. It's just you're on the streets, and depending on what direction you go, that basically makes you go elsewhere. So that's a good point. So it's not an open world game, although you can go to the previous stages, but indeed they are stages, and each of them has a boss at the end.
So I had pretty big problems because I played with the Joy-Con. It's not even D-pad in the Joy-Con, it's 4 separate buttons. It's either those you use to move the character around or the joystick. But it's a 2D game with the X or the Z axis there as kind of an illusion. You can go up and down and left and right, but there are a lot of occasions you really want to be sure the characters is going straight to the right or straight to the left, and joystick, it has all the millions of axes that's possible in the world, so it's not very ideal to play with a Joy-Con or joystick. And we're pretty short on good proper D-pad controllers, so I played with those separated 4 buttons, and it was quite annoying. I got used to it, but you're better off using the classic controller. I don't know if that would have been any better at either. It's very stiff.
So this is the Switch Pro controller, and the D-pad is pretty bad on this. It's kind of hard to explain what's wrong with the D-pad, but it's more or less like the you try to push a direction and it sort of wants to push into another direction as well. It was especially noticeable in game like Breath of the Wild, I guess, where if you press down, that's what was it? It was the horse whistle or something. And if you push left or right, then you change between your weapons and shields and stuff like that. So you try to change between your weapons and shields, and it actually registers the down button, and then you whistle and all the enemies nearby notice you, and that's really annoying.
That's how you can mess that up.
Yeah.
How do you fail at that?
I don't know, because like Nintendo is known to do very good D-pads in the past, and this is the SNES Online controller, whatever, and well, this works with the game, and it works really well, if I remember correctly. I don't think you need the ZR and ZL buttons are pretty small here, but I don't think you needed those.
I don't think so.
Yeah, or they were for special moves, so it's not that bad. So this worked pretty well for the game, and I do suggest playing it with this. The only problem is that you don't have the home button or the screenshot button if that's something that you like to take. And I guess like that's one of the big things of the game is that it's very, I mean, I was really sad when I first heard about this game disappearing from the Xbox store, whatever it's called, because it looks fantastic. It looks really great. The pixel graphics that they've done in this game, the sprite work is really magnificent. And it's something that you really want to take screenshots of every now and then, because...
So is that one of those games that, or things in life that you appreciate them once you realize they're gone?
Yeah, I guess
suddenly
so.
realize that, oh, I actually wanted to buy that someday. But it wasn't possible for us because it was for the Xbox. The controlling characters isn't very nice if you want to use a Joy-Con, because I always come back to the River City Girls, and I played it on the same controllers as this one, and I had no problems in that there. So they somehow optimized it way better for the Joy-Con controls as opposed to this game, which is probably already about 10 years old now. Not maybe not that old, but it is older game. It wasn't annoying. It wasn't very optimized for Joy-Con or joystick use, the controlling, because there were some things like drops to death or something required that you are exactly on the same lane and not stray at it, even a pixel to the other direction or something like that.
Yeah.
I guess it might have been also been a pretty strict about where the enemies were. Maybe this is as strict as some of the games we really hate, where they require that you have to be pixel perfectly at the same lane as the enemy is to have contact with them. And if you stray a little bit, then they don't hit the enemy.
Yeah.
This game wasn't that strict.
Yeah.
Some other game was like that, but there was some strictness about that, on which pixel you are. Yeah. But that's about the controls. A little bit on the aged side, I say.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a deal breaker, but it's definitely annoying that there's some little problems. And overall, it does feel sort of like an indie game. it might even be, for all I know, actually. I mean, it's published by Ubisoft, but I think the team that made it, I don't know which country they are. They're somewhere from Asia, so China or Taiwan or something like that. So I understand it's a slightly smaller team that made the game, and for that I'd say that it's really nice looking.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun nonetheless.
Yeah.
This is just the nitpick place where I try to think about if there were any problems, and controls are a little bit finicky.
And it's for 4 players, so that's nice, and local co-op. So
yeah, that's true. That's a point you have to really point out nowadays, because it's not very much of a given anymore.
Yeah.
If you can co-op on the same couch with a single device.
Yeah. So we only played it as a 2-player game. So we don't actually have experience with what it would have been playing it alone, or even with 4 players. But at least for 2 players, it was a really nice experience. It didn't feel too easy or too hard, I'd say. Of course, at some point, we basically stayed in the sort of first 2 or 3 levels and leveled up our characters quite a bit. So in that sense, it did get quite a bit easier after that. And I'd say the end game was, in that sense, a bit too easy maybe for us. Well, I don't think it was bad either way. It was because it's up to you if you want to get a little more challenge, and even if you level up some character a bit too much and you feel like the game is too easy, then you can just choose another character that's not as leveled up, and then you can get more challenge there.
This is fun, one of those games that it was fun, it was nice. Maybe we could play it some years later again, just because it's a short enough or condensed experience that you get a couple of gameplay sessions out of it, and it's fun.
Yeah.
And fun with friends, of course. Of course, when you can have this same goal as your partners, so you can play this as a co-op, have a lot of fun with it, with nice, expressive graphics.
Yeah.
It's one other thing I'm trying to remember, if the bosses were, you already said they became quite easy at the end because we were overpowered, but otherwise they were, I don't recall any kind of cheating or stuff from the enemies or the bosses that would ruin your experience or feel like game developers did a joke on you or something like that.
Yeah.
It was a coherent, nice experience all around from beginning to end.
Yeah. And it's just, well, part of this experience is that if we compare it to another beat 'em up that we played recently, the Streets of Rage 4, in that game, every stage you start with a certain amount of lives and a certain amount of health. But in this game, you can, at one point, you can start to buy lives. And of course, you'll level up your characters and they become more powerful. So whenever something feels like you just can't figure out what to do there, or it feels like it's too hard, then you can indeed go back and you can get more levels, and you can also get more lives, so that even if you do die later, then you can just keep trying again and again. And of course there's this whole mechanic that if you're playing co-op and you die on the stage, then your partner can go and sort of try to slap you back up. It's a little bit hectic because of course the enemies are going to be all around and you don't know if they manage to hit you while you're trying to revive your friend, but also that means that there's going to be a lot of indeed hectic button smashing in those situations. So it was part of the fun, I think.
Otherwise, there were a couple of mini games, not in the main game, but as a separate section. You had this dodgeball
Yeah.
thingy and this horde mode. We tried the horde mode out, and it's pretty fun also. I don't really personally like horde modes that much because they are just, well, of course, if it's fun to beat your enemies and there's millions of them to beat, but otherwise I'm not a big fan of those types of experiences, but it's a fun little distraction there to pick up.
Yeah.
If you don't want to get into the main game, you can just play a couple of rounds of horde mode and try to see how long you will survive with your friend.
Yeah. I think the problem with the dodgeball was that the character levels translate to the dodgeball mode, so it means that if you have if you have some character that isn't leveled up at all or stat up at all, then they're going to stand no chance. And if you have two maxed out characters, then they're never going to die because they have so much health.
Yeah, we had we were just having fun with the ball, slapping it around and trying to hit each other. Took a lot of time to get one of us to fall down and win this, and the other one to win the match.
Yeah.
So it's fun to have just to start screwing around, not even trying to do what you're supposed to do, just kind of that sandbox feel as a kid, taking just a game and then starting to do everything else you can do with it, and not the main objective. So I was trying to say they were quite unnecessary, but you got a lot of fun out of them for one sitting. So it's nothing bad. They are there.
Yeah.
You have a little bit fun.
Yeah, and I'd say that they're more like the party mode. If you have indeed 4 players and you want to try out some stuff, then they're there for that.
This is pretty nice that we have this experience, and quite near it we got to play this Streets of Rage 4, because they are pretty similar as a genre, but this spin of the genre is what I prefer a lot, because of the progression and leveling up your characters. It makes you want to invest a bit more on the game when you can have a chance on how easy or hard the game is gonna be, because the Streets of Rage 4 was more like this classic arcade experience where you don't get to buff your character any way other than just to become good at your combos.
Yeah.
There are not gonna be any more lives that you could buy with the enemies you beat up. So yeah, I prefer this kind of RPG style mixed in the beat 'em up genre.
Yeah. So if we have to point like one downside with this kind of game is that compared to the classic Street of Rage style of game, then with this game it's less about learning how each and every enemy works and a bit more about powering through, I guess. I'd imagine a lot of the enemies work pretty similarly to each other. There are some varieties, of course, but for the most part they just run in and they try to hit you. And of course some of them are bigger and you can't pick them up, you can't throw them and so on. But so you need to actually be wary of even trying to throw them, because they will just grab you and throw you back instead. So there is, I'm not saying that there's no strategizing, of course there is, but it's less about learning how each and every enemy works and more about you can just level up your character and work with that way.
Yeah,
So.
or if you can spin it the other way around and say that this type of game allows a lot of different play styles. It's more for it's more suited for a group of friends starting a game together, a 4-player co-op, and then each of them will have fun in the game with their own, how do you say, the one really likes the strategizing part and the other one just really likes to beat stuff up without thinking. So it really fits well to the atmosphere of having just friends come together and play this game instead of Streets of Rage 4, which is more about the arcade experience of becoming good at the game. We could power through that also, but it wasn't as satisfying as this game is with the leveling system. Buffing your characters, and that's one of the big parts, because in Streets of Rage 4 you can immediately play the character as powerful as he will ever be. They have all the moves from the get-go, but in this game I really like that you don't have all the move sets from the get-go necessarily. It kind of forces you to start learning the basics first, and then you learn a new move, and what's this gonna do, and you try it out, and okay, now I can smash a person that's on the ground, or lie on the ground. So it's more accessible, I'd say, or better way to get to learn your character when you don't have all the options available at the very start.
I think it works very well as a sort of natural tutorial. Just that your character learns a new move, and you get like an announcement that your character learned that move, and now you go to the menu to check what button do you need to press to execute that move, and then you try it out, and because you noticed it, then you actually pay attention to it and try to use it. And it'll take quite a while before you learn the next move, or your character learns the next move, so you have plenty of time to practice that one thing. And in the end, that helps you with actually getting used to all the moves. And one other thing I guess I want to mention is that this game has some, I don't know how to say it, like a little bit of wacky physics, in a sense. That felt a little bit I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but if you grab something like a metal pipe and you throw it, then it'll fly by really, really fast.
It usually bounces off the edge of the world and then comes back at the same speed as you.
And it'll hit you back if you're not careful. So I'm not really sure if that's necessarily a good thing. As somebody who I mentioned used to play the Reverse the Ransom series, you can also like throw objects in here, and if they sort of bounce back, then you will take damage from those as well. But in this game, those items feel a bit too slidey, I guess. They slide all around. And I guess it's fun in a party situation, or if you're playing with a bunch of friends and it gets really chaotic, everyone's throwing stuff everywhere and everything's bouncing back and forth. So it can be fun at that, but if you're trying not to lose health and trying not to die and whatever, then it can get a bit of frustrating as well.
I remember having these thoughts. I think I also mentioned them to you while we were playing, that there were some things that really felt like this is an older game. Somehow got this feeling that this is game from an era where it wasn't these types of games. There are a lot of them nowadays. And more are coming, and more and more people are starting to appreciate this style of game, having these pixel graphics and animated sprites, the old-timey feel of a game. And this, I feel this was from this very beginnings of that trend of starting to appreciate or people started to want to have these types of games where they can play brand new game but with those graphics that you remember from your childhood in this game. And this might be just in my imagination for all I know, but that's what I felt like.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's the nostalgia from the time when this was a new game and I watched that playthrough of it. Or no playthrough, it was a couple of stages. When this game came out, it was more unique to have this pixel graphics in a game. That was very good game, I'd say.
Yeah.
Indie scene was starting to bloom back in those days. Yeah, I would recommend it. Gather up a bunch of friends and have a nice evening. Play it with a couple of people, I'd say.
Yeah. Like mentioned, we didn't play it single player, so we don't actually know how good of an experience it is there. But as a co-op,
for that.
Yeah, as a co-op, it was really nice. There is the problem of friendly fire in some sense, but other than that, I mean, let's say you're getting it to some brothers or whatever who want to play together, they will have to learn to cope with the fact that they can damage each other. I don't remember if you can damage each other with the normal attacks, but at least...
I don't think so.
Yeah, at least when you throw items, they're going to be hitting not just enemies, but you and your partner as well. So
yeah, that's right, but it's part of the chaotic fun of not always knowing what you're doing and then somehow managing through.
Those were our thoughts on the game. Hope you liked it.
The game or our thoughts?
Yeah, either way. So, we're the Owl Basket and thank you for watching.
Thanks. Bye bye.
Bye bye.